So, Alex, we have 3 brands that I just randomly picked, and it'd be really cool to kind of get your view on what they're doing. Is it working? Is it not? So we've got Oatly, Perfect Head, and good old classic Cadbury.
Right, so Oatly is the easy one because that's one of the few sort of strategy genius brands. And the lesson from them, which applies to so many, especially challenger FMCG brands, is that most brands, they try and compete within the market that they exist in. So what I mean is, if you launch an oat milk, let's say, there's already a little oat milk category, and so then the target of that brand normally is, right, well, we want to be the number one oat milk, so there are people out there who want oat milk, so we are going to sell our oat milk to them better than the other guys can sell their oat milk to them. So you're selling to people who want what you're selling, right? But there's another game that you can play, which is to actually say, you know what, we are going to be the oat milk for people who don't want oat milk. We are going to sell to people who've got zero interest in the category. And effectively, that's what oat milk did. Whilst there was already this little cluster of other oat milk brands, don't even know who they were, maybe Outpro or something, I don't know, that were just like fighting over that tiny little market, insignificant market of people who were into oat milk. Oatly were like, right, well, forget that, we're going to go out and we're going to sell oat milk to people who don't want oat milk. How do we do that? And then obviously much bigger market, much bigger opportunity, and they effectively built the category. And all of those old oat milk brands must be sitting there kicking themselves like, we've been playing this game for 35 years, we're the oat milk experts, who the hell do they think they are to come in and just like do all of this? And the answer is, well, you were selling to the tiny group of people who are interested in the category. They are selling into the much bigger group of people who weren't interested in the category until somebody did a framing or a strategic approach which opened it up to them. So there are so many brands like that, challenger brands. They've got to be thinking not how do we sell to people who want this thing. They've got to be thinking, how do we sell to people who don't want this thing? Because that's a much bigger opportunity, strategically harder to do, but if you crack it, then all your other so-called competitors, see you later.
Yeah, they've definitely converted a lot of people.
I mean, definitely they have. I mean, again, I'm no oat milk aficionado, but I guess they are the least compromised taste-wise of all of the brands. And of course, they did that whole coffee shop strategy, like completely dominating coffee and then letting the retail thing sort of happen off the back of that, which was their kind of their genius judo move, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Now, Perfect Ted is one of these brands of whom there are a couple who like I find a bit of a mystery, because they're brands which seem very on the up, very big, you hear a lot about, and yet I never encounter them in the wild. You obviously encounter what you're looking for, so it might just be that it's all there and I'm just sort of like seeing past it, but I find these brands very interesting.
However, I think Perfect Ted are doing what Oatly have done with oat milk, but with matcha.
Yes, that's definitely true.
I think they're bringing matcha to the people, and they're doing it a lot with their marketing and their energy at the moment, and energy being one of their key words, because obviously, it's got energy.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So energy being key, and I think matcha used to be this like woohooey drink, which everyone was like, "What's that? It tastes like dirt."
Yeah.
And now they're making it into some pineapple flavored, or they've got apple and raspberry, and they're trying to turning it into this. Actually, this is amazing, and I think there's a pocket of Perfect Head people at the moment, and that's probably London based, but with the aim of it to kind of infiltrate out. So I do think they actually have a lot of similarities.
I completely agree. I can totally see that. They are playing the right game.
Cadbury.
Now, Cadbury, like, when we get put in the same box with Cadbury, or any brand that's basically more than 40, 50 years old, Coke and all the rest of it. And why I think they're interesting, those brands, is that because they are the kings, it's very tempting to try and learn from them and copy them, but that is sort of like suicide for any brand, because they they got their stranglehold on the market in an era when the game was so different. You know, back in, I'm sure it was more complicated than this, but basically back in those days, the market was, the issue in the market, it wasn't demand, generating demand, it was supply, being able to supply. If you could come along and reliably supply a good quality product, a chocolate bar, whatever, that was the race. Whoever could do that would then basically be the chocolate bar forever, unless they really buggered it up. So effectively, you know, that's kind of, I mean, whether or not that's exactly the history of Cadbury, I'm not sure, but brands like that, that's how they got to where they are. You know, they just sort of won the supply race. It was an operational game, and then once you're there, fundamentally the market and consumers, which is another thing that I think a lot of FMCG founders get wrong, like the consumers, they do not want new brands. They do not want innovation, and they just want to be bloody left alone, and they want to say, for the rest of my life, I don't ever have to think about chocolate ever again, because Cadbury has ticked that box in my brain, I'm going to think about something else. So the market is fundamentally driven by inertia, and so when you are the chocolate, or the water, or whatever, then it's going to take a lot to dislodge you. So they got to that position in a way which now a new brand can't do. So there really isn't anything to learn from these brands. And if you try playing them at their own game, they're just going to blow you out of the water because they've got 100 times more money.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. But that's it. That's our little strategic roundup.